Hi everyone, I'm Cody, W3AMG. Here today we're going to be doing an Ask Me Anything or Q&A. So this is going to be pretty much any question you have ham radio related. We get questions all the time and never enough time to cover them all. So today we're going to be doing our best to cover almost everything. I'm sure we won't be able to get to every single one, but we're going to do our best. So before we get started, we'll do a couple quick announcements. So we actually have some really cool things coming down the pipe. We actually have a Valentine's weekend sale coming up. So that's going to go through the 11th through the 15th. So definitely stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss out on that. Definitely check back. You know, we've got some cool stuff coming down the pipe there. And then we're also going to be doing a QSO contest. That will run from March 1st to March 31st. So definitely, check that out. Just a sneak peek of what's coming in the future. And then we also, not to mention, we also have a few more products coming out soon. I can't give you any details on what they'll be, but we have about 3 or 4 things in the work that are going to be really exciting for you. So definitely want to check them out. So let's get into it. Let's find some questions here. Let's see. We'll start with this one here. Here's a question from David. I have a D578 UV and the firmware is 1.14 and the CPS is 1.14, and that is forever for the D578. Let's see here. So the firmware, you can definitely change the firmware on your 578. If you want to upgrade that firmware, you can absolutely do that. Don't fully understand your question, but you can certainly change that down the road if there's newer firmware comes out or you want to. Absolutely. Let's see here. Another question. Here's a great question here. So looks like Jim asks, where is the best source for downloading the D878UV contact list? I have storage for 200,000 and will truncate any over 200,000. So the best source for this is going to be radioid.net. So I can actually switch over here and we'll show you how that would work. So we'll jump over here to the computer. So if I open up a web browser, here, and if I go to radioid.net, we can just click continue here. I can go to database, and let's see, oops. What you want to do is go to data dumps. And then from here, you can actually download the user CSV. So you just click on that, and that's going to download the entire digital contact list. Now, if you want, you can actually segment that list out by different categories. So like in your case, you don't have the entire 200,000 contacts. You could either cut it off at a certain point, or what you could also do is maybe segment it by location. So if you want to get rid of people, let's say you primarily talk in the US and your radio can't hold that many contacts, maybe you limit it so you're just putting US contacts in your radio. That's one way to get around the size constraint. Another way is just to get yourself a radio with a bigger list, but if you're in a pinch, definitely go ahead and do it that way. Let's see. Pull up another question here. Yeah, thank you, Jim. Okay, here's a good question, I believe. We'll find out. Awesome. So we have Jason. He asked, got the Brandmeister, I assume, set up and talk group, but not sure what color code or time slot, I assume. I'm setting up with local repeaters and nothing. Is there a standard Brandmeister slot/color to use for 144.39? Yes, a great question, Jason. Absolutely, there's no standard on what's going to be used. Now, for the SkyBridge, you're going to use time slot 2 and color code 1. Now, if it's a local repeater, that's going to be a little bit different. There's not necessarily going to be a set standard. You just have to find out what it is. Now, we can jump over here to the computer. I'll show you one, probably the best way to find out. Let's see here. So if we jump over here to the computer, we can go to repeaterbook.com Okay, so once we're at repeater book, I'm just going to find my local repeater, so we'll go to North American repeaters. So once again, just to elaborate, if you're using a SkyBridge, it's going to be color code 1 and time slot 2, but if you're using a local repeater, we don't know what it is, we just have to find out. So go down, find your repeater. Okay, DMR, we'll just find the local one. There's one just up the street here, we'll use as an example. I'm just going to do a Control F and search for it. Here we go. So here's my repeater. So once you've located your repeater, and you can use a map to locate it as well. You can do that in Repeater Book. Once you're on that page with the information, the best way to find out is just actually look for it. Typically they have it here, so color code 4 in my case for my local repeater. And then usually it will give you some more information. If I click on this Open Talk Group view, it'll give you some information on time slot. So like the parrot is time slot 2, but pretty much everything else is going to be time slot 1. You know, use time slot 1 for all other Brandmeister talk groups. So unless we're talking on, you know, something specified here, if it's Brandmeister, we're using time slot 1. So definitely just check and find out, you know, what the standard is for your repeater. There's not going to be a standard for everything though. So hopefully that answers your question. Definitely give us a call if you have any more questions, 816-532-8451, and we'd be more than happy to walk you through it or help you with it if you're still having trouble. Awesome. Let's pick another question here. Okay, let's see. Oops. Okay, here's a question. James asks, I have a DV Mega. Will the modification for the SkyBridge as well work as well? For TGIF. I believe that's what you're asking here. So with the SkyBridge, it's been a while, or with the DV Mega, it's been a while since I've used one. I believe you can also do TGIF with it, but we definitely have to find out. Maybe one of us in the chat can get you that information. You should be able to do basically the same procedure with that. You just go in there and change your network to the TGIF network instead of Brandmeister. So you definitely should be able to get set up there. Definitely won't have necessarily all the functionality you can do with the SkyBridge, being able to cross mode and everything like that, but you should be able to do that. Again, if you have more questions or thinking about upgrading to a SkyBridge, give us a call and we'll help you out with it. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Awesome. Let's see. Here we go. Here's a good question. Let's see. Charles asks, can you load both commercial standalone DMR search and rescue repeater frequency and ham DMR in a 878 Plus handheld? So from what I'm understanding, you want to load your commercial frequencies and your DMR, like amateur radio repeater frequencies, into your handle. Absolutely. Now, if you're wanting to talk on commercial, so let's say, like if you're, I know we have a lot of customers who are firefighters, and they use their radios for work and for personal, or you know, some other commercial application, search and rescue, something like that. Definitely go ahead and get the commercial version. We have both. If you have questions, give us a call. We'll help you make sure you get the right one. And that way you'll be able to use it for both commercial and amateur. That's the cool thing with these Anytone radios. Unlike a lot of ham radios out there, these are actually Part 90 certified. So we have it, you know, locked down so you can have your full VFO functionality for the most part in amateur mode. But if you want, you can buy the commercial one, which is fully Part 90 certified, and you can do everything with it. So you're not just limited to amateur radio. So awesome. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have any more, let us know. Keep going here. What else do we have? Okay, here we go. Here's a question. Andrew asks, can you encrypt private DMR transmissions? If so, how? Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for being here. So you can absolutely, for amateur radio, there's not going to be any encryption. It's actually kind of forbidden. You can't encrypt amateur radio. But if you're simply just wanting private communication, if you will, there are a few options for you. So for the DMR network, you can actually program in someone else's DMR ID into your radio, and they can program your DMR ID into their radio, and you actually form a somewhat private connection. It's almost like a talk group just for the two of you. So if you want private connections, you can definitely do that. It's not 100% private. Someone could definitely find it and listen to it. But for practical speaking use, it works very well. In fact, we've even done a video and a stream showing that before. Now, I believe if you wanted to have multiple people, you could just pick one person's ID and actually create a talk group with that, and you could have everyone talk on that, and you can kind of create a private room. We'll cover that in a future video. But thank you, Andrew. Great question. Okay, let's see here. Find another one. Okay, here we go. Doug asks, he's new to ham, have an Anytone 878 UV2 Plus, has a DMR ID and a Brandmeister password, good on code plugs, but can't reach local repeater. Who can I go to for help? Well, great question, absolutely. So you're definitely welcome to call us. We'd love to help you with that. Again, that number is 816-532-8451. Give us a call. We'll help you out and get you whatever you need to make sure you're up and on the air. Now, just as a basic preliminary troubleshooting, some things that could be, make sure your frequencies are correct. So if you had like I don't know what you have in the way of code plugs, if you got the ultra code plug, make sure your frequencies are set up for your repeater. Double check your color code and your time slot. If it's a repeater you're reaching, you shouldn't have to worry about the Brandmeister password. That should be, make sure your talk groups are the right talk group for the repeater. Like if it's a Brandmeister repeater, you want to make sure you're using Brandmeister talk groups and not like TGIF talk groups, for example, or vice versa. If you check all of that, you should be in good shape. One other thing that I've had catch people out on that before is in the CPS, having the actual channel switch to simplex instead of repeater. I'll show you what I mean real quick. If we switch back over here. So I'll open up the CPS. And occasionally this will get switched over. So you're basically talking on simplex instead of to a repeater. And obviously that's not going to work. So we'll show you what I mean here real quick. Yeah, so if we open up any channel here, let's see, we'll open this one up. So this is for a hotspot. Doesn't really matter if you're on repeater mode for simplex operation, but down here, this DMR mode, if this was set to simplex and you're trying to talk to a repeater, you will have big trouble. So just make sure that's set to repeater and everything else corresponds with the information for that repeater, and you should be in good shape. But like I said, we'd love to help you with it. So if you do have more questions about it, give us a call and we'll take care of you. Awesome. Let's get another question pulled up here. Yeah, here's a great question. Let's put this up on the screen. Phil asks, what is the difference between super and ultra code plugs? So great question, Phil. Thank you for being here. The biggest difference between the super and ultra code plug is just the amount of talk groups they have and the organization. So the super code plug had, I don't remember exactly, somewhere around 150 talk groups, which sounds like a lot, right? But when you think about it, 50 of them are just purely the different states. And then there was quite a few international countries, and that's about it. It's awesome. It saves you a ton of time, especially for the $50. But with the ultra code plug, not only do you get that, you're actually going to get a whole lot more. With the ultra code plug, you're going to get over 800 different talk groups. And instead of just having the countries, you're actually going to have a lot of detail within the countries, where there's like the Canadian provinces, a lot of different segments, and a lot more organization of those talk groups. So you're pretty much going to be able to talk to anyone anywhere with the Ultra Code plug. It's really neat. Definitely, it took us, I think, a few months to actually put that together, and we spent quite a bit of time on it. So, you know, for $100, you're going to save yourself hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of time. Awesome. Get this. Find another comment here real quick. Perfect. Okay. Okay, just pick another comment here real quick and we'll keep this going. Here we go. Great question here. Here's a question. Let me see if I can see that. Can you turn the tone off that rings after someone talks on the hotspot? And and on the hotspot on the 878 and 578. It was in the radio, and I can't figure out how to make it stop. Okay, perfect. So you're asking about if you can turn the tone off. You absolutely can. It's pretty easy. So if we jump over here to the computer, we'll pull that up real quick. Awesome. So here we are on the computer. So we'll jump over here. Oops. Open up the CPS. You can customize all the tones for just about anything. So you can definitely do that for sure. I know there are some repeaters, if you're talking to a repeater, that may actually have a tone that's going to be there no matter what. So if it's a repeater tone, you may not be able to get rid of that. But if it's simply one that your radio is making for you, you can definitely change that. I'll show you where you can change all those settings. So if we open up the optional settings, and then, let's see here. It's been a while since I messed around with it. If we go to volume/audio, there's some settings. That's not what you're looking for. Alert tone, that's what you're looking for. So right here under alert tone settings, depending on what specific tone you're wanting to change, play around with this. All of the information will be there. You can turn them on or off, change the length, or even change the frequency that they're played at. So hopefully that helps you. Awesome, great question, I appreciate it. Okay. Okay, here's a question. Perfect. Yeah, let's see, it looks like Bob asks, does super loud audio with the Anytone HT indicate mic gain is set too high on the transmitting radio? So good question. If you're talking about audio coming out of your radio, out of the speaker, excuse me, if it's really loud compared to someone else, like let's say you're, talking on a repeater and all of the volumes are really loud, probably that just means you have your volume turned up a little bit too loud, and that's as simple as that. But if one person's audio is really too loud, in that case, most likely they do have their gain set too high or something like that. In that case, you know, maybe let them know, hey, you might want to turn your gain down a little bit. It kind of blows out my speaker. Be the best option. Now, if your audio is too loud on other people's receiving ends, if they're saying, hey, it's too loud, it's distorted, that's super easy to change. In fact, you can even do it from the radio. We'll show you here real quick. If we switch over to the radio, let's see, we'll go to menu. And we'll go down here. You just want to go into settings, just like that. And we'll go to, I believe this one is under radio set. And it's a voice function, I believe. And then you have a few options here. So these are for your headphones or your earpiece. So you can do max volume level, max ear max volume. So that's going to be like for an earpiece. You can select how high the volume can go for an earpiece. And then somewhere in here there should be a microphone gain as well. Let me see. Yep, analog mic level. So you can change your microphone gain level. So this is what you want to change if you're too loud for people. So just play around with those settings. If you have a buddy whose mic gain is too loud, definitely let them know about that, and hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, Bob. Awesome, there we go. Let's see, find another question here real quick. looks like an answer. Don't want to put that up there. Can you? Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great, guys. We've got some people answering questions in the chat. Okay, here we go. We'll put this up on the screen here. Perfect. So Jerry asks, on my 878, I receive worldwide fine, but when I change to North America or any other, I can see activity on the SkyBridge and radio, but I don't hear any audio. Ideas. Great question. Yeah, thank you for being here, Jerry. So in that case, now, you know, it's possible you've already tried this, so forgive me if you have, but most likely that would be caused by not disconnecting from the previous talk group. You actually have to disconnect from one first before you transmit to another one, or else it's not going to work for you. Easiest way to do that is you would switch over to Sky. If you have a super code plug or ultra code plug, it's going to be Sky TG disk, talk group disconnect. Now, if you don't, that's going to be talk group 4000. That's the disconnect. So if you don't have that programmed in, definitely do so. You have to hit that disconnect before you will be allowed to talk in another talk group. And if you have already tried that, make sure you just make sure all the settings for those talk groups are the same, and your time slot, if you're talking on a repeater, I think this is a SkyBridge, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. So most likely just a disconnect issue. If one's working and the others are not, that would be most likely what it is. But definitely let us know if that's not what's going on, and we can help you further. Awesome. Let's find another question here. Okay, here we go. James asks, I tried to merge the code plug with local repeaters from my 878 to my 878 UV2 Plus, which has a super code plug. I get an error. How do I remedy this? Great question. So we actually have some videos that cover this. If you want to merge code plugs from radio to radio with different versions, most likely what you'll have to do is export that data and then re-import it onto your new radio. So if you have, I guess there's two different cases here. If everything you want is on that old radio, it's pretty simple. If not, if you want to merge two together, it's still pretty simple. So what you'll do, let me jump in the computer here. Awesome. So once we're over here, what you will do is actually in your CPS, on your old radio, you'll go up to Tool, and then Export. Oops. Click the wrong button. Tool, Export, and then Export All. And then that will save everything to basically an Excel file. You can use Excel or any other program to edit it. You can probably get away with just a channel as well if you're not wanting to. Just depends how much information you want to take over. So if all you will care about is your channels, you don't mind remaking your zones, you can do that. Or if you want to carry everything over, you can take everything over with you. So that's up to you how much you export. So what you'll do is you export that, and then you'll come over to your new CPS, and then at that point, you'll go to Tool, and then Export from your new radio that also has data on that you want to keep. If you don't have any data you want to keep on your new radio, you can completely skip this step right here. You'll go to Export and then export the information. Then at that point, you'll open them both up in Excel and take the information from your old code plug, and then basically copy and paste that over to the new code plug's Excel sheet. So that's CSV, the channel.csv most likely. And then at that point, save that as a CSV. On your new radio again, you'll go up to Tool and then Import, and then you can choose what you want to import based on what you exported, and you'll import all that information into your CPS, and at that point you should be set. You should be able to write to your radio. Switch back over here. You should be set to write to your radio at that point. Keep in mind, you definitely want to, on the new CPS, read from your radio first before you try anything, otherwise you will end up with band errors. So hopefully that answers your question. We definitely have some videos for you that go over that if you have more details on that, or give us a call. We'd love to help you with it. Awesome. Let's see here. What is next? Take some more questions. Here we go. This is an interesting question, Paul. Thank you for being here. He asked, where is the SkyBridge built? So great question, Paul. The SkyBridge is actually assembled right here in the United States of America. So that is pretty neat. Not only do you get a SkyBridge, but we assemble them right here in the States. Awesome. Find another question here. Here we go. Richard asks, I have an early 868 that I keep updated when others, as for my code plugs, and I send, oh, let me see, it went off the screen there. When others, as for my code plugs, I send them to them and they say it does not work. Richard. Okay, I understand. When others ask for your code plugs, I think that's what you were intending to say. Great question. So if you have an older radio, like an 868, or really anyone that's a different version, you're going to run into the issue we actually just talked about. If you try to import that just by opening the file in your new CPS, if you just go to open and hit open, the RDT file, you're going to get errors. So in that case, if you want to share your code plug with them, you won't be able to share all the custom program buttons and details, but you can share the contents. So just go to Tool and then Export All, and just put all that in the folder, zip the folder, send that to them, and they'll be able to import that into their radio. So that's probably the best workaround for that case if you're on different versions of radio. Awesome. Let's see what else we have here. Okay. Here's a question. Let's see, Gus asks, channel talker alias operation, what is this and when would you want to use it? So I'm a little bit vague on this myself. We'll definitely get you the answer. I think, and one of our tech guys in the chat will correct me if I'm wrong, I believe how this works is talker alias, if you switch that on, will actually be able to display information about the person if you don't have a digital contact list. So let's say you didn't have time to import that whole list, or there's a new person in the database you want to be able to see without the entire list. You can switch that on and it will actually display whatever they have set when they program their radio with a radio ID and their name and call sign. So that name and call sign will show up there with the radio ID. I believe that's how it works. Hopefully one of us in the chat will correct me if I'm wrong there, one of the tech people. But from my experience, I've never tried that myself, but from what I've heard about it, I believe that's what it's for. So hopefully that helps you there. Great question, Gus. Okay. Oops. Here we go. Here's a question. Dana asks, how do I scan different talk groups to monitor several channels on the 878 UV2 Plus as well as the 578? Yeah, great question. So if you want to monitor, scan through different channels, there is a scan function, so you can set up the scan function to scan through a variety of channels. As for digital channels, you will actually have to key into them to hear anything. So unless you want to set it up for like digital monitoring, you're actually going to have to key into the channels to be able to hear them. So probably your best bet is just to pick the channels you want to listen to and key into them. But you can use digital monitor to be able to listen to them, and I believe you can set that up with scan mode. So definitely give that a shot. Hopefully that'll help you out there a little bit. Awesome, great question. Thank you. Let's see, what else do we have here? Here we go. Jerry asks, monitoring our local talk group on our local repeater, and then another talk group like 91 or worldwide will pop up. How did that happen? So I guess I need a little bit more information to fully answer that. If you're simply just monitoring it and it pops up and it doesn't affect you, it could be that someone keyed into it on the repeater and is using that. Now if you're actually hearing activity, it could be that you're connected to one of those other talk groups and just haven't disconnected. So you probably I need a little bit more information to really tell you what's going on there. But just make sure you've disconnected from everything, and if it's not interrupting your radio use, it should be fine. Here we go. Here's a question. Art asks, have you had a presentation on the D878UV2 use of APRS? So we actually have. We made a video specifically on that, how to use the radio with APRS for both send and receive. So definitely check that video out. It's on our YouTube channel. It'll walk you through how to use APRS, both send and receive, because that's one of the cool things with the new radio, the UV2. You can both send and receive APRS. So it shows you how that works. So definitely check that out. It's a great resource for all of you who want to get into APRS or learn more about it. Let's see here. Here we go. Here's a good question. Oops. I think it worked. Yeah, so SkyBridge, can the SkyBridge be programmed to do Brandmeister and TGIF? Great question. Absolutely. So the SkyBridge, it'll work fine for Brandmeister or TGIF talk groups. It's really simple, actually. All you have to do is just make one little change, and you're up and running. We might be able to show you that real quick. So if I click over here, we can jump over to the computer real quick. So in your radio, we'll go down to digital and talk group. So all your talk groups, any talk group you want for TGIF, you'll have to make actual TGIF talk groups. So just have the corresponding number and probably make some new channels for them. Not all the names are going to be the same as Brandmeister. So just, make the appropriate channels for your TGIF talk groups. And then on your SkyBridge, you can't use TGIF at the same time as Brandmeister, but it's very easy to switch over to them. So we'll pull up the SkyBridge here real quick. So once you have the SkyBridge pulled up, just click on Configuration. And if you want username and password, username is going to be pi-star. Password is Raspberry. Oops. There we go. So once we're in here, all you'll have to do is just scroll down and change the DMR master. So we have it set up for Brandmeister right now. You would want to change that over to TGIF. Let me see if I can find it here. TGIF, oops, _ network. So this one right here, you want to change it over to that. And then at that point, you would also have to enter your password, your TGIF password, just like a Brandmeister password. So you have to register with them and get your password. And at that point, you should be all set. Awesome. Yeah, great question. Thank you for your question. Okay, find another one here real quick. Okay, here's a question. David asks, I don't see any reference to the 578 UV radio anymore on your support site. Yeah, great question. We should absolutely still have some information out there for support, so apologize for any inconvenience if there's not, but there definitely should be, so we can definitely fix that for you. If you have questions about it, definitely give us a call, 816-532-8451. We will help you out there. But yeah, I appreciate letting us know. We'll definitely look into that. But if you have something going on with your radio, we'll definitely help you with it. So let us know. Awesome. Let's find another question here. Okay, here we go. Kenny asks, can you use the D878 UV Plus on commercial banks, I think you mean bands, with modifications? Great question. So absolutely, you can use the 878 on commercial frequencies as long as you get that commercial version. Now, if you got a non-commercial version and you now have a need to use it for commercial use, give us a call, 816-532-8451. we can probably set up a way for you to send it back and get that switched over. Or if you have your credentials for commercial use and you can verify that, we might even be able to get you set up with the tools you need to get that switched over. So just let us know, we'll help you out there. But for a non-commercial user, you know, you'll be in amateur mode unless you buy that commercial version. So you know, in terms of modifying it, we can change that if it need be, but definitely buy the appropriate version up front. That way you don't have to worry about it. Now, just to verify or explain how that works, if you're using the amateur one, you'll have full access to VFO, which means you can program it from the front panel. Now, if you switch over to a commercial version, you're going to lose that front panel programmability, but you will be able to now talk on commercial frequencies. Awesome, great question. Let's find another here real quick. Here we go. Sam asks, will there come a time when the SkyBridge can do both Brandmeister, TGIF, and DMRC at the same time? That's a great question. So as of now, you can easily switch between the two, TGIF and Brandmeister. But that will be something pretty neat to see, to be able to do multiple at the same time, just have them all kind of active. Maybe we'll see that down the road. I don't know if all the networks are set up to work together like that at the moment, but I would be in support of making something like that happen, so that's awesome. Great idea. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, here we go. Charles, why do you not talk about disconnecting from a talk group after connecting? Great question. This is vital right here. I think possibly a few of you on the stream are actually running into this right now. If you talk in a talk group, so let's say I talk in the Parrot. We'll give it a shot here real quick. Parrot, so let's say I talk in the Parrot. Testing 1, 2, 3. This is W3AMG. Oops, well, my SkyBridge is on the wrong frequency, so that would not work. Let me see. Well, okay. I hit someone's SkyBridge, it wasn't mine, but that's funny. We have another one set up in the shop. So if you're running into a problem where you can't, you're having trouble if you're changing talk groups, or even if you're not, you always want to disconnect from the talk group. So if I scroll over here to TG disk and I key up, wait for it.
Not linked.
There we go, not linked. So we get that message. That means we have disconnected from a talk group, and now we are all set to connect to another one. So just make sure you key up that disconnect talk group before you connect to a new talk group, and you'll have nothing but success. But yeah, great question, Charles. Thank you. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, here you go. Fred asks, is there a fast and easy way to go to a talk group? So that is a fantastic question. And in fact, there is. It's a little bit complicated to set up. Now, if you purchase a plug-and-play package from us, we actually set it up with a button to pre-program in. It's all set up, so you just have to press one of the buttons, and that's defined in the user guide you get with it, to switch you directly over to the disconnect. That way, if you're on a talk group, you can just press that button, it'll disconnect you, and then you can key up again. So you can absolutely make shortcuts in the CPS to be able to do that. Let's see, find another question here. Here we go. Jerry asks, when you're monitoring our local talk group and someone else keys in another talk group, can you see this on your radio? Let's see. And can you make a disconnect? Okay, I think I'm understanding, hopefully I understand your question here. Definitely let us know if I'm not understanding it correctly. So if you're on a local repeater, it's duplex. So you can basically disconnect any time on the local repeater. You don't have to wait for someone to stop talking. Now, with a hotspot like the SkyBridge, you actually have to wait until it's clear, because the way radio operation works with a repeater, you have a transmit frequency and a receive frequency. Now the hotspot, those are the same. You just have one. It's a one-way, basically like a one-way street. So to actually key up that disconnect, the SkyBridge can't be transmitting. So if you're on a real busy talk group, sometimes you can almost get trapped. So I know a lot of people, they won't ever key into like worldwide because they'll get trapped on it. I mean, you won't really get trapped. You can wait for it to time out. You'll be set. But you definitely have to wait until people are not talking. Then you key up, and then you get disconnected. So just keep that in mind. If you're on a real busy talk group, you may be wondering, hey, why is my disconnect not working? That would be the reason. So great question, Jerry. Hopefully that's the right answer for what you're looking for. Okay. Awesome. And wait for a few more to roll in here. Just so you guys are aware, if you have any questions about any of this, we are here. We actually just did some improvements for our phone system to hopefully give you guys a better experience when you're calling in. Not going to be talking to robots, anything like that. Get a real person in no time. So give us a call, 816-532-8451. We'd love to help you with anything you need radio related, whether you want to get set up with the radio, you're having trouble, need some help, or you just don't know how to get started, you don't have your DMR ID yet or something like that. We will actually help you, walk you through, get your DMR ID so you can get started with DMR. Okay, let's see, pick another question here. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, K04OIG asks, on the 578, how do I make a shortcut for changing zones? I tried zone but didn't work. Is it a hotkey I need to use? Great question. So you can absolutely use a hotkey for it. A little bit complicated to set up, but once you get it, you're good to go. Now changing zones, that's if you want to change to like one specific zone. But if you just want to change through your zones, it's really simple. I'll switch over to the radio so you can see. But to just change your zones, all you have to do is just this button here in the center. You just push that up or down, and that will cycle through all of your zones. Now, if you're wanting to have a button to take you to one specific zone, you may want to look into the hotkeys. But if you simply just want to change them, just keep that in mind. You can do it like that. Awesome. Yeah, great question. Oops. What else do we have here? Here we go. Yeah, so here's a question. Looks like Dalton asks, does BridgeCom monitor the TGIF BridgeCom talk group? Yeah, so that's a great question. I'll be honest with you, until yesterday, I didn't even know there was a BridgeCom talk group. I personally have not played around with TGIF that much, so I've been playing around with it recently. It's pretty neat to try out, so definitely recommend you do. But that was really cool. I don't know how that got created, but that was really neat to see. So I don't know if anyone monitors that or not. I don't think so, but I'm certainly going to be on it more often now that I know it exists. So that was really neat to find out. Okay, find another question here. We'll do one more question and then call it quits. I think we're at about 45 minutes. That's the time frame we're looking for. If you guys like these, we're definitely going to do more in the future of these Ask Me Anything. Okay, here we go. Here we got one more question. Perfect. This is a fantastic question. Wayne asks, how do I make the radio function to listen until I get my technician license? So if you just don't have your license yet, or even, I know for me, the hardest part was I got my license, I passed my test, but I don't have my call sign yet. I'm still waiting on it. If you're in that situation, definitely go ahead, don't hesitate, get yourself the radio, and then we can actually help you get it set up into digital monitor or just any monitor, even for analog, and then that way you're actually going to be able to listen without transmitting. Because for digital, typically you have to key into talk groups, but if you're on like a local repeater, you can actually listen to what other people are saying. You won't be able to go change to a specific talk group, but you'll be able to hear what other people are talking on with that digital monitor. So we have a video that shows you how. Definitely check that out, and that'll get you all set up there. Awesome, there we have it. So I appreciate every single one of you for showing up and attending today. Wouldn't be possible without you. This stream is entirely for you folks, hopefully educating you more about your radio, how to use it, and answering any questions you have. So I'd say that was a success. If you have questions, give us a call, 816-532-8451. And don't forget, we have a Valentine's weekend sale coming up the 11th through the 15th. So don't miss out on that. A great opportunity to get yourself a radio at a good deal, and certainly convince the other half to be in support of that as well. Great opportunity. And then we have another thing coming up, the QSO contest. And we also have some more products coming down the line. So stay tuned. A lot of cool stuff in the works. That's all I have for today. Thank you all for attending. I'm Cody, W3AMG.